All right, so today we're going to move away from looking at ionic bonding. We're no longer talking about electrons being given and taken away to turn atoms into ions and then having those ions bond up or form up in such numbers as to cancel out the charges so you have a net charge of 0 at the end. Today we're going to be looking at covalent bonding. Covalent bonding is different in that the electrons are being shared between two atoms. So they're spending, for now, we're going to say they're spending an equal amount of time around both atoms. So it looks like both atoms have access to the electrons in that bond. So just like with we did with ionic bonding, the first thing we did was figure out how to determine the charge on an atom. For the covalent bonding stuff, the first thing we're going to do is try to figure out how many covalent bonds these things are going to form. So I have three elements up there. I have, let's go, thank you, clipboard. I have nitrogen right here, oxygen here, and I have neon right here. I believe this is a review of something you've done probably in middle school or at least in physical science. So with that, let's look at nitrogen real quick. Um, this, just like ionic bonding, we're still focused on those outer shell electrons. So in this case, nitrogen's here. So outer shell electrons, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outer shell electrons for nitrogen. So when I do this diagram, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that I have 1 in each of those 4 spots, I can double up 5. All right. So now the big question is going to be, how many unpaired electrons do I have? So right here, this is a pair of electrons. These two electrons are partnered up. These two electrons are happy together. So that means my unpaired electrons are going to be this one, and this one. For me, for my assignment, stuff like that, uh, to indicate how many bonds a single form, you could just essentially take those three electrons, those three unpaired electrons, and just draw lines coming out of them. Because that way I know you're looking at this and you can see the three bonds coming out of nitrogen. I'm looking at this and I can see that, yep, you found the unpaired electrons and drew bonds coming out of them. Or if you just kind of wanted to put a 3 there, that's kind of acceptable. I know that's pretty basic, but that's how that would work. I'm going to move that 3. Put it right there. All right. So now let's look at oxygen real quick. So oxygen's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's in column 6, so 6 outer shell electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, double up, 5, and 6. All right. So now the question being, how many covalent bonds will it form? Oxygen has a pair of electrons right there, a pair of electrons right there. These four, that pair of electrons there, that pair there, those are happy already. We're not going to break those up. So they're not going to go out looking to other electrons to form partners. So this oxygen is going to form, there's an unpaired electron there, there's an unpaired electron there. So oxygen will form 2 covalent bonds. So now you might be wondering, why don't these two electrons pair up? And that goes back to kind of when we did electron configuration stuff, the electrons need to be as spread apart as possible before they pair up. And so we had to put, I put 1 electron in each of these kind of 4 directions before I pair them up. They have to be spread out before they partner up. So that means these two cannot partner up. Keep in mind, you could draw this in any direction you want. So like I could have done something like that, or I could have done something like super crazy. These things are all the same. Essentially, it's still oxygens with 2 pairs of electrons, 2 bonds of electrons. Doesn't matter whether you do your bonds clockwise, counterclockwise, doesn't matter. All of these are all correct. All right, let's look at neon real quick. So neon, how many outer shell electrons does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm looking at 8 outer shell electrons. Let's throw those up there. All right, so now the question would be, does neon have any unpaired electrons? If I look around, it looks like it has one, two, three. It has four pairs of electrons. None of them are unpaired. Oxygen, neon, no covalent bonds. The noble gases, they're called noble because they don't form bonds with anything. They typically, out of nature, don't form ions. We never find them bonded to anything uh, because they're happy. Their electron shells are full. Keep in mind, I said in nature because we'll be visiting that towards the end of our look at covalent bonding. All right, that's really how you determine how many covalent bonds something will form. Should be pretty basic, but with that, good luck with practice.